Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 26, A Serious Punch. Who's the kid's name? Haeyuming narrowed his eyes slightly, and met Shinazugawa Sanemi's big eyes that stared like a lantern. It was as if two currents collided in the air, making a crackling sound. Is there any brat here besides you? He actually yelled at a pillar. Tomioka Giyu. Is this a relative you brought? How can you deserve a beating like you? Shinazugawa Sanemi glanced at Haeyuming with a look of disdain and turned his head in the direction of Tomioka Giyu. He couldn't think of any reason other than being a relative of Tomioka Giyu who was brought to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer squad at such a young age. However, in the face of Shinazugawa Sanemi's question, Tomioka Giyu chose to keep his face paralyzed, and moved his eyes to other places, obviously trying to pretend he didn't hear it. He definitely doesn't like Shinazugawa Sanemi's irritable and defiant temper, and it just so happens that this time he can use Haeyuming's hand to teach this self-righteous guy a little bit, so why not do it? Forget it, I'll find you bastard later, will you get out of the way, you little brat? Seeing that Tomioka Giyu didn't pay attention to him, Shinazugawa Sanemi only felt angry, and his temper came up in an instant, but before he taught Tomioka Giyu a lesson, he had to beat the little devil in front of him who exuded the same annoying aura as Tomioka Giyu. A harsh lesson. Want to do it? Then try it. Facing the threat of Shinazugawa Sanemi, how could Haeyuming still stand in the same place, stroking the head of Nezuko who was a little frightened with one hand, and ticking provocatively in the direction of Shinazugawa Sanemi with the other hand. Asshole. How could it be possible for Shinazugawa Sanemi, who was so provocative, to bear the irritable mood in his heart, and immediately kicked his legs back with a bruised head, and punched Haeyuming hard in the stomach. Boom. Just hearing a loud punch to the flesh, Shinazugawa Sanemi's fist instantly hit Haeyuming's stomach. However, a scene that shocked him happened. He felt as if his fist had hit Gambang, and Haeyuming still looked at him with a slight smile on his face like a normal person, as if it's like laughing at his weak blow. Didn't you eat in the morning? Since you can't even punch, let me teach you what a real punch is. I saw that Haeyuming had already taken his action while Shinazugawa Sanemi stopped on the spot with a dull expression on his face. A normal punch. Then he waved his fist upwards casually. Boom. It was such a casual punch that instantly made Shinazugawa Sanemi feel as if he had been hit by a train. His whole body curled up like a prawn and flew several meters away. It has to be said that it seems that the Shinazugawa family seems to be quite resistant to blows. Even after suffering such a terrifying blow, Shinazugawa Sanemi regained consciousness a short while after the brain went down for an instant. After touching the bloodshot eyes overflowing from the corner of his mouth in disbelief, monstrous anger instantly ignited. You bastard! Clang! In an instant Shinazugawa Sanemi pulled out his Nichiren blades and charged again in Haeyuming's direction. This time he would show no mercy. Breath of the wind, one-shaped dust whirlwind, slash. I saw that Shinazugawa Sanemi, as if transformed into an electric drill, quickly launched an assault towards Haeyuming, and the violent shock wave hit Haeyuming in an instant like a tornado. The terrifying shock wave instantly crushed the ground into powder, but even so, there was no trace of panic on Haeyuming's face. Since you have drawn your sword, you must make up your mind. Looking at the approaching Shinazugawa Sanemi, Haeyuming finally stopped smiling. On the contrary, there was a serious look. Slowly took a deep breath, almost evacuating the surrounding air, and then slowly raised his right hand. A serious punch, almost beyond the speed limit visible to the naked eye. At the moment when Shinazugawa Sanemi was about to appear in front of Haeyuming, a fist the size of a sandbag instantly escaped his attack and appeared in front of him. Boom. The duel between masters is often at such a moment. Shinazugawa Sanemi rushed up and flew out in such a hurry, turning into a shooting star in the sky. Pooh, let's see if you dare to touch my Nezuko in the future. Chapter 27. Haeu-kun is indeed a handsome boy. As Shinazugawa Sanemi was punched flying by Haeyuming, a sound of chatting slowly came from the grass behind him. Yeah, hey, Mitsuri-chan, your eyes are almost heart-shaped. As the eyes of the people were suddenly attracted by the chatting between the two, they saw two beautiful ladies on the high wall behind them eating the delicious bento in their hands while happily watching the actions of the people just now. One was wearing the classic black and white cloak of the ghost-killing squad, and a black jumpsuit with a thin waist perfectly highlighted his exquisite figure. The girl's heart contained in the three long pink twisted poops seemed to rush towards her face. A pair of big light green eyes looked at Heyuming from a distance as if they had turned into love hearts. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. The tear mole adds a touch of seduction to it. Black single ponytail with long collarbone hairstyle, the tail is slightly purple and mature, revealing a touch of cuteness, wearing a mint-colored kocho hair clip with dark purple edges, the feathers are like kochu's wings, and the purple pupil reveals a hint of intellectual beauty. The other one is even more sweet-looking, wearing a snow-white haori, and the open-chested team uniform and short skirt perfectly show off the proud figure. Two beautiful young ladies are sitting on the wall, and their green calves seem to shake Heyuming's heart, which is sultry. Heyuming, who is a big fan of Demon Slayer, can't know who he is meeting. The two people in front of them are obviously Kocho Shinobu and Kanroji Mitsuri, who are the three most handsome in Demon Slayer besides Nezuko. Looking at the eyes of Ganluji Millie beside him, who has almost completely become loving and locked on Heyuming tightly, Kocho Shinobu shook his head with a smile on his face, and then said to the people in front of him, "Heyuming Yu-kun and Nezuko-chan, hello, I'm Kocho Shinobu, and the nymphal-looking man next to me is Kanroji Mitsuri, the Hashirama meeting is about to start, let's go." Looking at Ganluji Miri beside him, his eyes have almost completely become loving. He locked on Heyuming tightly, and murmured unconsciously, "Hey-yu-kun with a serious face is so handsome too. This is the ideal type of appearance and figure that I like. Ah, Kocho Shinobu, my spring is here." Kocho Shinobu still had a gentle smile on his face, with several blue veins popping out. He punched Kanroji Mitsuri on the head, knocking him unconscious and dragging him away. "Everyone, Mitsuri doesn't seem to be feeling well today, so let's take a step ahead and see you at Hashirama later." Hearing that the meeting between the pillars was about to start, Heyuming suddenly remembered that he seemed to have beaten away a guy who needed to be beaten just now, and that guy seemed to be a pillar too. Thinking of this, Heyuming scratched his head in embarrassment and asked, "What about that guy Shinazugawa Sanemi? I seem to have accidentally beaten him up just now." Hearing Heyuming's worry, Kocho Shinobu was slightly taken aback, and then laughed like a silver bell. "Haha, you are such an interesting kid. It's okay, we have seen what happened just now. It is true that Shinazugawa Sanemi made the mistake first. But you don't have to worry, that guy is quite durable. He shouldn't be able to fight just now. If there is any major problem, the meeting between the pillars will definitely be held as scheduled." Is it really okay? Knowing how terrifying Heyuming's strange power is, Tomioka Gyu's head slowly dripped 3 drops of cold sweat. Being hit on the head by that terrifying force doesn't seem to be going to be all right. He knew that Kocho Shinobu was the leader of Choya who was in charge of healing, so it was impossible for him not to see how seriously injured Shinazugawa Sanemi was just now. It seems that Shinazugawa Sanemi has definitely offended this woman before. Thinking of this, Tomioka Gyu suddenly felt a chill all over his body. He remembered that Heyuming seemed to have said that the other pillars didn't seem to like him very much. Is it too late to start remediation now? He didn't want to be diagnosed as fine after being stabbed in the head that day. This is absolutely dead. What a horrible creature women are. At this moment, Tomioka Gyu, who was imagining various remedies in his mind, suddenly heard the voice of Kocho Shinobu. "Mr. Gyu, let's go and don't stand still, are you feeling a little uncomfortable? Well, let's go. After this inter-column meeting is over, you must ask Mr. Ming how to eliminate the misunderstanding with the female pillars, he is very experienced." Looking at Heyuming, who told a joke or two from time to time and made all the girls laugh, Tomioka Gyu secretly made a decision in his heart. Chapter 28. It has to be said that the environment of the headquarters of the Ghost Killing Squad can be described as extravagant. From the time Heyuming followed Kocho Shinobu to Ubuyashiki Kagaya's residence, he walked for nearly 10 minutes. All kinds of exotic flowers and plants along the way, as well as all kinds of captive animals, made his eyes straight. Muscular deer fed Ganoderma since he was a child, and giant chickens that only ate rice irrigated with wine and other animals with a penchant for curiosity made him feel bad. I know that the Ghost Killing Squad is rich, but it shouldn't be so rich. Compared with the animals here, the A5 grade Wagyu beef outside is simply rubbish. Well, if you have the chance, you must visit here often. Ubuyashiki Kagaya's good intentions are in vain. If you eat all these animals, his combat effectiveness will probably increase by several percentage points. Yes, all of this is for the peace of the world, how could it be for my own appetite? For some reason, the corners of Hei Yuming's mouth almost drool at the thought of this: grilled steak, roasted thighs, roasted kidneys, roasted butter. The animals around felt that they seemed to have been put on the dining table, trembling with fright, and their usually perverse characters, under the threat of Hei Yuming at this time, they all behaved like kittens, with a sense of atmosphere. Don't dare to take a breath. A unique courtyard gradually appeared in front of the group of people. Kocho Shinobu was also impressed when he saw it, and then reflected that the surrounding environment today is always a bit too quiet. Hey, these animals are so good today. By the way, in front of Mr. Heiu is the owner's residence. After hearing Kocho Shinobu's words, Hei Yuming turned his eyes away from the surrounding animals. I don't know if it's his illusion. It seems that since he got the gourmet cell and his cooking skills reached the full level, he is familiar with all kinds of delicious ingredients, and his resistance to those delicious foods seems to have dropped slightly. This is not a good sign. It only shows that the abilities he acquired have not been fully grasped by him, and even have had some influence on himself, although these influences are still under control, but with the abilities he acquired, more and more will inevitably have many adverse effects, which is definitely not the result he wants to see. But now is obviously not the time to consider this issue, because they have already entered the residence of Ubuyashiki Kagaya. As the crowd filed in, they realized that they were not the first to arrive. A brown cassock with the words, Namo Amitabha, draped over the uniform of the Ghost Slayer squad, a huge monk with a very long scar on his forehead and white eyes, and a long yellow and red hair, with a facing the man with heroic sword eyebrows and a pair of eyes that seem to be able to pierce the sky. It is obvious that the two have been talking with Ubuyashiki Kagaya cross-legged for a while. With such obvious physical signs, Hei Yuming naturally recognized them at a glance. These two are definitely the strongest Zuyanju Himehima Kyumei and the real man Yenju Rengoku Kyujiro. And sitting across from them, the young man with extremely weak signs of life but exuding a reassuring aura should be Ubuyashiki Kagaya himself. There is nothing wrong with that. Seeing Hei Yuming and his group walk into his house, Ubuyashiki Kagaya showed a kind smile on his face, and waved to everyone. Is it Kuroba-kun and Nezuko? You came just in time. We happened to talk about you just now. The Hashirama meeting hasn't started yet. Let's sit down for a while. After Ubuyashiki Kagaya's friendly waving, Himehima Kyumei also noticed the two fresh faces of Hei Yuming and Nezuko, and Doda's tears instantly gushed out of his eyes like a flood breaking a bank. Are you Hei Yuming? You are indeed a good-looking talent. The future of the Demon Slayer squad depends on you. Hey, is there really nothing wrong with the lacrimal glands in this guy's eyes? Even though I already knew the character of this rock pillar in the animation, when I met Hei Yuming for the first time, I was a little bit taken aback by his sudden tears. This is because a normal person does not have such a large amount of water output. Ha ha ha, did it scare you? I'm really sorry. We old guys have some minor problems more or less. I hope you don't mind. Come and drink tea. On the other hand, Rengoku Kyujiro was still as heroic as shown in the anime. Seeing Hei Yuming and Nezuko seemed to be frightened by Himehima Kyumei, he smiled loudly and called Hei Yuming and others to come over and have a few sips of tea. The enthusiastic and unpretentious attitude instantly made Hei Yuming's favorability for him rise sharply. The eldest brother is indeed the most attractive male character in this comic. It is precisely because of this daring character that he was able to save the lives of Tanjiro's Xiaoqiang trio with his own life. Now that he has come to this world, he will never let this tragedy happen again. Chapter 29. Compared with the domestic turmoil at this time, the headquarters of the ghost killing squad has a strange silence at this time. The tea is really good tea. The moment Hei Yuming got the teacup, when the long fragrance wafted into his nose, he knew that it was definitely taken from the moment he just grew up and matured. The top quality dahongpao made with the first drop of dew in the morning is estimated to be rare even for today's extreme powerful people. With a sip of micro tea, a strong fragrance seems to be transformed into a substance, and it flows down its throat in an instant, leaving a mouthful of fragrance that makes people have endless aftertaste. Open black lens bracket ding. Congratulations to the host for eating Extreme Dahongpao, Intelligence +3, Endurance +3. The top-level ingredients are instantly digested by the gourmet cells and transformed into the power of Hei Yuming. Only the mouthful is full of fragrance. Seeing Hei Yuming enjoying his face, Ubuyashiki Kagaya also smiled slightly. How about it, Mr. Heiu? This is the top specialty produced by our ghost killing team only once a year. It is taken from the mysterious red clay, equipped with special fertilizers, and it was collected for the first time this year after several years of cultivation. It's really destined to be with you. Even Hei Yuming had expected that this tea was extremely precious, but he did not expect that Ubuyashiki Kagaya would treat him to this first collection, and even Hei Yuming couldn't hold back. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up suddenly. He put his hand into his pocket and pretended to fumble around, but in fact he secretly took out the drink that he didn't dare to drink in Daniu village in the space backpack. The macho wine finally showed a gratified smile on his face. Since this is the case, I can't let you suffer. This is the macho wine from Daniu village. It is very delicious and can strengthen the body, nourish yin and tonify the kidney. I will share it with the master today. Seeing the unknown turbid object Hei Yuming took out, Tomioka Gyu's eyes froze instantly. Ha ha ha, Mr. Heiu is an interesting person. Although someone is unwell, since Mr. Heiu produced such a good wine, I naturally want to have a drink. Ubuyashiki Kagaya handed the glass to Hei Yuming with a contented face, and Hei Yuming naturally filled the glass for him. No, you must stop him. Tomioka Gyu, who knew the making process of this macho wine, rushed to Ubuyashiki Kagaya's side with a look of despair, but it was almost too late. Ubuyashiki Kagaya's wine glass was already empty, and without knowing it, he pursed his lips with an intoxicated expression, only then noticed Tomioka Gyu who suddenly stood beside him, and asked curiously. Mr. Gyu, what's wrong with you? You're sweating profusely. Did you catch a cold? Seeing that things have happened, and Ubuyashiki Kagaya seems to be quite satisfied with the taste of this wine, Tomioka Gyu did not have the courage to tell him that the raw material of this wine is made from the fine hair of the macho men in Daniu village. He replied as uncomfortable as eating a fly, no. Seeing Hei Yuming looking at him with a smile on his face, Tomioka Gyu knew that this guy definitely did it on purpose. How could such vulgar food be eaten by the master? However, just as Tomioka Gyu made eye contact with Hei Yuming, Ubuyashiki Kagaya waved to the rest of the people, signaling them to go out for a while. The rest of the people saw Ubuyashiki Kagaya's gesture and naturally walked out obediently. Even Tomioka Gyu temporarily ended the eye contact with Hei Yuming, gritted his teeth angrily, and finally walked out helplessly, guarding the door. Now it was Hei Yuming's turn to be curious. He really didn't want to understand why Ubuyashiki Kagaya left him alone in the house. If it is about Kibutsuji Muzan, it can be reserved for discussion at the Hashirama meeting later. But leaving him alone in the house now obviously has other things to talk about. Could it be that he is coveting his beauty? Thinking of this, Hei Yuming's complexion changed instantly. It seems that this is the only possibility. After all, his handsome face is simply a model for all men and women. No wonder Tomioka Gyu looked at him with envy just now. So I was jealous of my exquisite face. This old man didn't expect to be this kind of person. I misread you. Chapter 30. After everyone left the room, Ubuyashiki Kagaya changed his previous leisurely expression and asked Hei Yuming with a serious face. Kuroba-kun, I heard from Gyu that you have the power to transform ghosts into humans and give them more powerful powers, is this true? Hey, it turns out that you are not greedy for my beauty. Thinking of this, Hei Yuming breathed a sigh of relief, thought for a moment and replied seriously, it is indeed so. Regarding the transformation of Nezuko into a ghost with a perfect body, Hei Yuming thinks that he did absolutely nothing wrong, but now that it is exposed, there is really no way to do it. Then what is the relationship between Black Feather-kun and Kibutsuji Muzan before? After all, the ability of Black Feather-kun is really hard to let people not think of the way Kibutsuji Muzan transforms people into ghosts, and also transforms people through blood. Speaking of this, Ubuyashiki Kagaya finally asked his own question, and the surrounding aura suddenly became dignified. However, after thinking for so long, Hei Yuming has long thought of a lie about dealing with this kind of problem. You can't tell Ubuyashiki Kagaya that there is a system in his body that directly makes him an existence beyond Kibutsuji Muzan. Everything in the world has natural enemies. The natural enemies of animals are humans, and the natural enemies of human beings are ghosts. So what are the natural enemies of ghosts? Have you ever thought about this problem? I saw Hei Yuming sitting upright in an instant, turning on the master level flickering state, and Ubuyashiki Kagaya was stunned for a moment by every word under the full level deception skill. I really haven't thought about this question. In my impression, the only things that can restrain ghosts instinctively are wisteria flowers and the sun. Does Kuroba-kun have an answer? I would like to hear more about it. Ghosts naturally have natural enemies. Although Kibutsuji Muzan is a monster that was accidentally produced by a pharmacist thousands of years ago, he has gradually devastated the life of this continent for thousands of years. God sees you, so he gave my ancestors the power of gods to help mortals fight against ghosts, but the power of gods has never really awakened before, and it will only improve their talents when it is reflected in normal people, and give them markings that can enhance the strength of their companions, and I am the son of gods of this generation and also ours the only person in the family who has truly awakened the power of God. Heiyuming uttered a large piece of lies without blushing and heartbeat, and Ubuyashiki Kagaya's expression changed instantly, apparently thinking of something. Wait, this is the son of God of this generation. I remembered that in the Warring States period, there was a legendary swordsman with flame-like markings on his face. It was even rumored that he almost killed Kibutsuji Muzan completely. If I'm not wrong, the legendary swordsman Ji Guiwan is your ancestor, so that's how it is. Seeing that Ubuyashiki Kagaya was lost in thought, the light in his eyes that were about to go blind became brighter and brighter. Obviously he was frantically trying to make up for Heiyuming's words. And Heiyuming also happily took a sip of tea leisurely, boasting in his heart that he is really a little genius. At this moment, Ubuyashiki Kagaya finally ended his crazy brainstorming, raised his head and said to Heiyuming, Kuroyu-kun made you laugh. I am really shocked by the truth of this history, but Heiyuming, do you know the curse of our maternity family? Heiyuming nodded slightly when he heard Ubuyashiki Kagaya's words. He had heard a little about the short-lived curse of the maternity house family. It can be said that Ubuyashiki Kagaya, who is not yet 30, looks like he is about to die. Thanks to this curse. Because of the scum-like Kibutsuji Muzan in their clan, the entire race is cursed so that almost all descendants die in their 20s. This is one of the reasons why the maternity family has been fighting against Kibutsuji Muzan for generations. I can feel that my time is running out, but my dog has not yet been able to take on the important task of being the master in my opinion. Although my eyes are about to go blind, as far as I can the future you see is bright. Speaking of this, Ubuyashiki Kagaya paused slightly, as if waiting for Heiyuming's reaction. Heiyuming, who was drinking the big red robe leisurely before, heard what Ubuyashiki Kagaya said. How could he not know what he was going to say next, and spit out all the tea in his mouth in shock. Why did this bad old man want to throw the heavy burden of the Ghost Slayer squad to him the first time we met? Is it true that he has the ability to predict the future? Isn't it appropriate? We just met for the first time, and isn't it fun to end your mission in your own hands? Hearing Heiyuming's persuasion, Ubuyashiki Kagaya smiled detachedly and explained to him. It's not that I don't want to solve it myself, but that time one is really not allowed. To be honest, Mr. Heiu, I can feel that my lifespan will definitely not exceed 1 year, and within this year, I think the possibility of killing the current Kibutsuji Muzan is even slimmer, and your appearance is simply the only possibility to break the current situation and kill Kibutsuji Muzan. Although it is the first time we meet, I can feel the kindness and persistence in your heart. But at the same time, you definitely have a greater yearning in your heart, and I am very relieved to entrust the ghost-killing squad to you. Stop. What if I can give you real eternal life? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.